Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing well. If you're new here, I'm Roz. I am an intuitive reader and I'm also an artist. If you'd like to check out the art, it's at Nomeste Art, Gnomeste art. I've noticed there's been a few times I've been like, oh yeah, my art name is Nomeste, and people have been like, what? Like N-O? Like, no, no, that's not right. But anywho, y'all are starting to realize in these videos that I'm a little weirdo and I'm kind of cool with it. So I wanted to make a video about kind of like why I do what I do and things like that. I don't know. I don't know where this video is going to go, but it's going to go online. So let's see. I've got to like figure out my age so I can figure out how far to go back. I guess I could go all the way back into my childhood. So when I was younger, I always had weird experiences. My mom would tell me these really strange things that I would say and do when I was a kid. Like one story in particular, I was probably like 9-10 months old, somewhere around there, and like just learning how to walk and stuff. And my mom and my grandma were having a conversation in the other room, and it was a big open room. They could see me, but it was just like a different part of the room. So I'm in this living room, they're in the kitchen over here, and they're having a conversation. My mom says she can't remember what she said, but I clear as day said that's what I used to do in my past life. And I grew up hearing the story because it just freaked her out. It scared her so bad. She was like, you what? We've joked about it a few times as I've become an adult, especially doing what I do now, because I grew up in a Southern Baptist home with very strict Southern Baptist grandparents, and as I got older, my involvement in the church kind of dwindled down. I think I stopped going to church maybe like 3rd or 4th grade. I just know I didn't really do it. Like, I don't know, I just didn't have any like Christian upbringing, structure, whatever you want to say after that. I just kind of had to like find my faith on my own. So from the time I was a little baby, I was having, weird experiences, saying stuff like I did this in my past life. And then as I got older, I remember like being in the house that I grew up in and hearing footsteps above my brother's room. And we didn't have an attic or anything, but I remember being like, I hear footsteps up there, like somebody in big boots is walking. And I remember it scared my mom. And she kind of deterred me. She just kind of was like, oh, it's nothing, you don't hear anything, there's nothing there. She kind of deterred me from believing in that. And that really, like, when people tell you that, because we all do it, it kind of shuts off that connection that we have. It makes us think, oh, well, if there's no logical reason for that to be happening, there's really nothing happening, or whatever. Another thing I kind of remember was, I remember being on the front porch and I could hear my grandparents arguing. Mind you, I lived in Damascus, my grandparents lived in Greenbrier, and even my brother, this was a shared experience with my brother, which I always thought was like weird but cool. But we were both on the porch, we were talking and playing, and then we could hear our grandparents arguing. And then I remember hearing my grandpa, like I could see him in my brain. Like I could see him walk out the door. He said he was going to the cabin, and that's where he was off to. And then we called our grandma, and we were like, hey, what's going on? And like you could tell in her voice and her breath that she'd been arguing with him. And we were like, where's Pawpaw? And she's like, he just left to go to the cabin. And my brother and I just start freaking out. We're like losing our minds over here. So then we fast forward through my teenage years, because when I was a teenager, I was extremely depressed. I was very, I was just in a really dark place. So a lot of the experiences I had been having, I was very shut off to. I was no longer having those experiences. I really didn't think about it. I was just trying to survive high school and home life and just like life in general, because nobody teaches you how to be a teenager, and really nobody, like, we're so angsty as teenagers. We don't want anybody in our business, and we think we have to do everything alone. Whatever. So I went through that. And then I had my daughter when I was 21. So this onset a lot of things. When I was pregnant, my grandma died. My grandma was a huge person in my life. We called her Mama. So Mama passed away, and I was 3 months pregnant. After she passed away, I started having visitations. And this is when I would go to sleep. She would come to me in my dreams. And one of the most, I think the first time she came to me, I had dreamt that I had gotten off work. I worked at Harps in Greenbrier at the time, and my grandparents lived like catty corner from Harps. So in my dream, I had gotten off work. I was still in my smock because I worked in the deli at the time. And I go over to her house, and I pull in, and I get out, and I open the door. Or she opens the door. I'm sorry. I get to the door, and she opens it. And I'm literally shocked to see her there. I was like, "You're not supposed to be here." And she was like, "I just had to make sure that you were okay. I just had to come say hi." Now, this was either the first visitation I had, or it was the second one that I'm about to tell you. It was one of the two. All I remember is they happened super close together, and I really kept them to myself. And I remember just feeling in my heart that it was so real, and it was super emotional for me because I loved her so much, even though we had a very tumultuous relationship, and there was a lot of just like not so good back and forth with us all the time. So in this dream, she's just like, "I wanted to make sure you're okay. I just had to come say hi." And she was still in her pajamas, which was like, if anybody knows my mama, she would not have opened the door in her pajamas. But one of the last times I had seen her alive and in person, she was in those same pajamas. And it just made me feel really good to see her and know that she was okay. Like, I could look at her and tell that she was perfectly healthy. And I love that she came to me in the form that I knew her in. A lot of times when we cross over, we will go back to how we looked when we were like in our 30s, because that seems to be like the prime time of our life, just in our existence, when we were at our best, I guess. So I was really happy to know that she came to me in the state that I knew her in. So the next story that I want to tell you about the visitation that I had with her was my grandpa was really struggling. I mean, we all were. We were really struggling with the loss of her. And I remember just in this dream, I was sitting at their bar in their kitchen, and there's just the light above the bar on, and it's just enough light to like illuminate these 3 spots. And I was in the middle, she was over on this side, and he was over here. So she tells me, and I knew, like, in this moment that I was the medium, I was the one who was supposed to deliver the message. She was like, "Tell him I am with someone whose name started with the U sound." And I really want to say it was Eulame, but I don't remember. And I want to say that was one of the cousins, like the older cousins. She said that she was with this person, and it was her job to help them cross over, and she was doing good. She was happy, she was healthy, and she had already found a purpose on the other side to help people transition, which just was like, even now, I feel like riddled with emotion thinking about it, because it let me know that she did not struggle in her passing, that she was able to cross over and accept where she was and what was going on, and that she just fell into her role of caretaker so well. And these dreams I had took me 5 years. It took me 5 years to tell somebody because I was afraid I was crazy. I thought it was not real. I did not believe it. Like, I was intrigued by this kind of stuff, but I didn't really believe it was real for me. So, and like when I told my parents about these dreams, my mom was like, she was in awe, but she really didn't know what to think about it. My dad was like, don't ever tell anybody that you had those dreams. That shit is crazy. It is not real. Like, I wanted to tell my papa. I felt like I had to tell him. My dad was just like, absolutely not. It goes against our religion, our beliefs. It goes against everything. Do not say anything to anybody about that. Well, it was eating at my soul, like literally eating at me. And I think 2 days after I had that conversation with my dad, I called my grandpa and I was like, look, I gotta tell you something. And so I told him, and he cried and he was like, thank you so much for telling me this. And I wish you would have told me sooner. And I was like, I'm sorry. I really thought I was crazy and that these things that I was dealing with was just like all in my head. Like, really thought I needed to be hospitalized because I was seeing dead people and having conversations with them. So fast forward a few years back to 2018. I had an absolute mental breakdown. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not ashamed of it at all. My dad was diagnosed with cancer. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with cancer. Our house almost caught on fire. Like, put a fire out in the house in the middle of the night, all within like a 3-week period. And I was under an insane amount of stress. Like, I swear I have PTSD from that fire because I still cannot sleep throughout the middle of the night without waking up and like going out into the rest of my house smelling to make sure there's like nothing. It really fucked me up. I'm not gonna lie. So it's 2018. There's all the cancer diagnoses, whatever, and I started therapy towards the end of that year, like in October. So I wasn't into religion at this time. I wasn't into spirituality. At this point, I had already, like, I'd had one kind of, I feel like this is where my soul journey began. Before we start with the therapy, it was my husband and I were walking through the woods around our house, just kind of like scoping things out, looking around. We were just, there's this house in the woods like directly right next to my yard, and we were really interested in seeing like the inside of this house, and we've watched it dilapidate over the years. But we were like walking around the woods, we found lots of pretty flowers, and there was this voice in my head that told me to cut all the hair off. Mind you, I have BPD and I'm impulsive as fuck, so there's really like who knows with that one. But I did. I cut all my hair off, and it was like, this is where it begins for me. I was in this weird transformative state where I was taking care of me. I was going to start doing things for myself. I struggled when my grandma was alive because she was always comparing me to my cousin, which like dwindled my self-worth real bad. Always feeling like I was second best. I was never going to be good enough, pretty enough, smart enough, fast enough, athletic enough. Like, I was just never enough, and it was always a thing, and it caused a lot of tension with people that I loved, and it sucked so bad. Like, it took me a long time to get over that. And anytime I did something, I could hear my mama's very critical voice in my head just absolutely degrading me. So when I cut my hair off, it was like this way of me standing up for myself and doing something for myself. And I started exploring like different hairstyles, different hair colors, all the things, and I had a great time with it. But I would say that's where a lot of it started for me, because I was the first time I listened to myself in a long time to do something for me and just trust that it would be okay. Okay? So then the cancers happen, the fire happens, and then I end up in therapy because I'm having a mental breakdown, literally just like laying in bed, paralyzed with fear, crying. My best friend came and picked me up, took me to the clinic in town. They gave me some medication to kind of help chill my ass out, and she recommended therapy. So my husband helped me find a therapist online because he knew I was struggling and I like could not fucking function like a normal human being. And I had a baby to take care of. Like, I had a little kid. I was like, fuck. So I found a therapist, and she was like a godsend. Oh my god, I love her so much. She gave me the tools to save my life, and it was amazing. And I just knew when I saw her picture, I just had this feeling. I was like, she's the one. There's no doubt about it. So we start therapy. We start dredging up my childhood. We start talking about all the different things. And as I started unlocking old memories and healing old wounds, this crazy shit started happening to me. I remember standing in my bathroom, minding my own business, putting on my makeup, getting ready for the day. And I was at this point, I think I was kind of dabbling, like reading about spirituality. I was really trying to find something other than myself. I needed some kind of higher power. I'd always been uncomfortable in church, and I just knew that I needed to figure it out on my own. And for myself, I really needed to figure out what I believed. So I started like reading about spirituality and, things like that. Well, then I started getting these visions. Like, I was putting on my makeup and I was like, I wonder what today's gonna be like. And then I get this vision of my therapist with like a short bob. And mind you, her hair had, ever since I'd known her hair had been like this long. And I was like, there ain't no way she cut her hair. I walked into her office and her hair was maybe an inch longer than what I had seen. And all the blood ran out of my face. And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, I for real knew you cut your hair before I came in here and saw you cut your hair. And she just kind of brushed it off and laughed about it, whatever. But then things kept progressing. And so by my birthday of 2019, so within 6 months of therapy and reading books and everything, I had started realizing that I was empathic. I had come across the word online and was like, what is this? And things started just kind of making sense for me. I was like, oh my god, I'm an empath. I pick up other people's energy. I've been doing this my whole life. Sorry, I'm gonna put this roll on. My neck hurts. Like, I've been doing this my whole life, just picking up on other people's energy. I never realized that like a lot of the things that I was feeling was stuff that wasn't even mine. I was just picking it up from other people, and it felt so real to me. So that really took me down a rabbit hole. And I started reading about like empaths and, light workers, spirit guides, things like that. So I had, put out into the world, I was like, okay, like, I want to meet my spirit guide, come to me. And then I met him. His name is Eli. He's my right-hand man. He's my dude. He's always taking care of me. When I do spirit work, it's always through my good friend Eli, who has, if I remember correctly, Eli was my imaginary friend when I was a little kid. And here I am, an adult, like, oh shit, like, you're real. So I've come to believe that Eli was my brother in another life, or he was my son. I'm not really sure. I haven't really spent a lot of time asking those questions, but I really feel like he was my brother. Like, he has this energy of caretaker who is like, he's very protective, like an older brother should be, is the energy that Eli gives to me. So establishing that relationship with him, and I learned how to protect myself against energy and all this other stuff. And it's just really onset things for me. So then I started having other visions. Like, I had touched my back door handle to open it to let my dogs in. And I saw this vision of my pit bull and my other dog running into the house. As soon as I opened the door in this vision, my mother-in-law opens her door and her dog comes out. My pit bull and her dog hated each other. Like, two bitches, for real. They just absolutely could not be in the same room together. So that happens in real life. as soon as I opened the door. Like when I touched the door handle, I saw it all play out. I opened the door and it happens. But like seeing that vision beforehand and then it happening, I was able to like be one step ahead of the dogs when they came together. Like I was able to get in the way of my dog long enough for my mother-in-law to pick her dog up. And then I got her in her kennel so she could take her dog out and do all the things. But it like shook me. Another thing that had happened was we were watching Jeopardy because my husband is secretly like 70 years old and likes that. So I'm in the kitchen minding my own business. They asked this random question and in my head I heard the answer and there was no reason for me to know this answer. I fucking had no idea. I couldn't tell you what it was to this day, but I heard it clear as day in my head and that shit shook me. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? I am crazy. There's this voice in my head that's telling me things. I'm probably schizophrenic. I'm gonna go like get locked up, whatever. They're gonna think I'm insane. And then I just started diving even more down the rabbit hole of spirituality and understanding spirit. I started reading books and listening to podcasts, just anything to understand what was going on with me. And it just like led me where I am today. And over the last couple of years where I've really started developing this I would say back in like 2019, I remember talking to my therapist. She's like, we're talking about my purpose. And I was like, I really feel like I'm supposed to be like helping people. I just don't know how. And spirit kept telling me with the cards, but my confidence was just so low in this. I didn't know what I was doing. I only did readings for myself. I would pull cards for my friends and their situations and things like that. But mostly it was, these cards were for me and I was establishing my relationship with them and they were helping me with my journey. And I was not confident of reading other people because I just didn't trust myself and I really didn't trust spirit. Like I was still on the fence about being crazy. Even though I had like plenty of evidence stating I wasn't. I even had one instance with my therapist where I had walked into her office and the whole office looked different. And I start describing to her what I saw. Like this fucked me up. It was like everything in my real world looked totally different. Like I could see the real wall that was there, but over that real wall was like this film. Like an old movie film, and I could see a whole nother room. There was 2 giant windows with like a thick window pane. There was a couch in front of it, this little thing in the corner, and then it opens up into another room which was like the kitchen. Across from the couch was a mantle. There was a TV. I remember seeing a door off to the side and what I thought was a coffee table with a rug underneath it. And I was like, the walls look kind of like the same color of this wall, but it's not the same. It's different but similar. And I was like, I just feel really sad. Like, I just feel really, really emotional about it. She messages me later that day. Like, she brushed it off. She messaged me later that day. She was like, the sadness you were picking up on was the fact that I had to take my dog to get put down right after our meeting. It was like her dog of 13 years. And she said, you described my home, like my living room, perfectly. And it was like I had opened this door. I walked into that home. It's like I walked into her living room. That's what it looked like. That's what it felt like. She's like, the only thing is that's not a coffee table. It's an ottoman. And all I could remember seeing was like the shape. And it scared the shit out of me. It shook me. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. But it was like, spirit was like, we're real. Like, what you're doing is real. This is not pretend. And that's when I was like, this is a very sacred gift. This is something that I am developing, that is real, that is special. I'm getting emotional. But it was real. And it was like God trying to tell me to remember my power, because man, for years, my whole life up to this point, I had been a very weak person. I had put on this very strong persona because I had to, but I was so fragile. And they just reminded me that I am powerful and that there is more to this life than what we see, than the tangible things here. And I just kept educating myself and I kept practicing, I kept doing. And then we hit the pandemic, and it has been a year and a half since I started my group. I did several months of free readings and never had a reading where somebody was like, "You're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about." Never has spirit not shown up for me. And if there was ever a time where there was like a free reading Friday where somebody didn't really resonate with the message that I sent, and I kind of like reworded it, and they're like, "Oh my God, that makes sense." And I'm like, yeah, like sometimes spirit says weird shit and it has all, like, it takes me a minute to process it and put it into words that we understand. Because sometimes one of the voices that comes through is very sophisticated and I'm ignorant as fuck. But anyway, I really just do what I do now. I know a lot of my practice started out with mediumship. Like, I wanted to be able to connect people with their dead loved ones because, well, that sounded fucked up. Their loved ones that have passed over, because my grandma kept visiting me, and I was like, oh, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'm supposed to be the medium. And I practiced online in these mediumship forums and struggled a little bit, even though like it helped strengthen it and was able to like help me figure out what my clairs are and like how it comes through to me. It didn't feel right. It was like, man, this is like kind of the line of work I'm supposed to be doing. And then it dawned on me that I'm supposed to be helping people in their human experience now. And as much as like getting a message from loved ones, and they do come through sometimes, and not to like, I don't try to just ignore them, but I really just want to help the person in the here and now with what they're dealing with, and help them with their healing journey if they want. And I told Spirit and God, when I started this, I was like, those who need me, let them find me. Let them come to me, and I will help them to the best of my ability. Like, all I want to do is serve you and the higher good, and like, I just want to help my brothers and sisters in a way that benefits them, benefits all of us, brings peace to their life. Like, I really just want to help people be peaceful and happy and help them with their healing. That is a goal for me. That is really the only reason I do this. And the only reason I ask for money is because it's an energetic exchange. Doing readings takes time away from my home, my family, my daughter. I did several readings yesterday, and she was just distraught that I was not out there with her every second of the day. So doing these readings does take a lot away from me, and I do come out tired sometimes, especially if I haven't connected with spirit properly to use the universal energy versus my own, because it can be very easy to just, because we all can do this, we all possess this ability. It's just like a muscle, you have to flex it and all that. But it really, yeah, I lost my train of thought there. I'm tired, I'm distracted. It really does take a lot out of me sometimes. And like, even doing the video readings sometimes, like this, I'm really surprised she hasn't knocked on my door. But I do this because I want to help people. I'm like, I love everybody. Even if you have done me wrong, I still love you, because that's what we're supposed to do. Like, there's no reason for me to hate people. That's just exhausting. Very heavy shit to hate all the time. And we are made out of love and light, and we are supposed to, in my opinion and my belief, we are supposed to get as close back to that love and light on this level of existence by working through the challenges that we are faced with, because we come here and we agree to go through certain things to help build our soul to evolve. Like, you go through the situation, and then instead of staying in the dark because of the situation, you fight for your soul to come back into the light, to not let the bad things deter you from your faith. Really, ultimately, how I feel about it. I'm very thirsty. I've been talking a lot and I still have to do a card reading. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and make this video to kind of help people understand. I might make another video about something else soon. I don't know. I'm trying to still figure out what I want to do with this group. I feel like I talk too much, but like then again, I'm like I don't talk enough. Spirit's been pushing me to make more videos. They have been pushing me to go live and do readings, which is something I'm all for. I've just been kind of waiting for things to settle down around here. The urge for it has been more and more lately, but having a free space to be able to do live readings has gotten difficult because my husband works from home, and like the last couple of weeks my daughter's been home demanding attention every second of the day. My fellow parents understand. But yeah, so if you are interested in the videos I like, or blah, 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 I make, if you like them, if you want more of them, if you want to hear about certain things, let me know. Message me, leave a comment. I have had a lot of validation lately about continuing this and doing more. The last year and a half of having this group, I've been really struggling to figure out what I want to do with the group, what it needs to be like, how I need to show up for myself and spirit here. And people have come to me in person and over Messenger and been like, your videos are really helping me. They're really resonating and things like that. Or like, they'll be like, I really needed to hear the message that you posted today. And that just really makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. And I don't know how to respond to these things because a lot of the times I don't remember what I say, because it's more of like channeling some days where I just become an open vessel and I let spirit speak through me and whatever. So there's a lot of times I don't remember what I say in the videos. I have to go back and rewatch them. But having that validation that they're reaching people, they're helping people, and I'm like, okay, I need to keep doing this, even though it seems so small and sometimes pointless. And like, I do feel ridiculous sometimes. And I go through struggles of like, well, I don't have a good setup and I don't have this. And like, I was having this conversation with Spirit the other day, and they're like, it doesn't have to be pretty as long as the message gets out. I'm like, oh shit. So yeah, let me know what you think, what kind of, I guess, content you want. That sounds weird. I don't know. I'm not a tech savvy person, but yeah, I love you guys, and I hope telling you about my journey just kind of gives you an idea. Maybe it resonates with you in certain ways. Maybe it'll help you realize you're not crazy. I don't know. Have a good one.